As they say in the UK, let's get cracking. Let's pick up where we left off at the intro, and we are going to go straight to Module 1, Plan and Manage an Azure AI Solution. Azure AI Service is a collection of services that are building blocks of AI functionality you can integrate into your applications. With this overview, you'll learn how to select which services to use to provision, secure, monitor, and deploy Azure AI Service resources. Let's get to the high-level summary of each of these. First, Document Intelligence Solutions. Azure AI Document Intelligence is a cloud-based Azure AI service that enables you to build intelligent document processing solutions. Massive amounts of data spanning a wide variety of data types are stored in forms and documents. Document Intelligence enables you to effectively manage the velocity at which the data is collected and processed, and is key to improved operations, informed data-driven decisions, and enlightened innovation. Next, we have Speech Solution. The Speech Service provides speech-to-text and text-to-speech capabilities with a speech resource. You can transcribe speech-to-text with high accuracy, produce natural-sounding text-to-speech voices, translate spoken audio, and use speaker recognition during conversations. Create custom voices, add specific words to your base vocabulary, or build your own models. You can run speech anywhere in the cloud or at the edge in containers. It's easy to speech-enable application, tools, and devices with the Speech CLI, Speech SDK, and REST API. Computer Vision Solution. Azure AI Vision can power many digital asset management solutions, or DAM scenarios. DAM is the business process of organizing, storing, and retrieving rich media assets and managing digital rights and permissions. For example, a company may want to group and identify images based on visible logos, faces, objects, colors, and so on. Or you might want to automatically generate captions for images and attach keywords so they're searchable. Next, we have Natural Language Processing Solution. Azure AI Language is a cloud-based service that provides natural language processing (NLP) features for understanding and analyzing text. Use this service to help build intelligent applications using the web-based Language Studio, REST APIs, and client library. Next up, knowledge mining. It's an emerging discipline in artificial or AI intelligence that uses a combination of intelligent services to quickly learn from vast amounts of information. By orchestrating various AI capabilities, knowledge mining delivers an enhanced experience that enables organizations to gain insights faster from content that would otherwise remain untapped. There are 3 phases to knowledge mining: ingest, enrich, and explore. Say that again. 3 phases to knowledge mining: ingest, enrich, and explore. And a lot of us are really familiar with generative AI or Gen AI. It's a type of AI that's trained on enormous amounts of data, enabling it to generate novel content such as text, music, and code in response to natural language requests. This technology has the potential to transform business with the goal of automating routine tasks, spurring creativity, and empowering people to focus on high-value work. Here they are for your review. There are 6 principles that should guide planning an AI solution: fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. For us, these principles are the cornerstone of a responsible and trustworthy approach to AI, especially as intelligent technology becomes more prevalent in the products and services we use every single day. Let's break these down. First of all, AI systems should treat everyone fairly and avoid affecting similarly situated groups of people in different ways. To build trust, it's critical that AI systems operate reliably and safely and consistently under normal circumstances and in unexpected conditions. These systems should be able to help operate as they were originally designed, respond safely to unanticipated conditions, and resist harmful manipulation. When planning for AI solutions, privacy and data security issues require especially close attention because access to data is essential for AI systems to make accurate and informed predictions and decisions about people, like you and me. To plan inclusiveness in your AI solution, you should comply with laws regarding accessibility and inclusiveness, use the Inclusive 101 guidebook, have people with disabilities test your systems, and consider commonly used accessibility standards. A crucial part of transparency is what we refer to as intelligibility, or the useful explanation of the behavior of AI systems and their components. Improving intelligibility requires that stakeholders comprehend how and why they function so that they can identify potential performance issues, safety and privacy concerns, biases, exclusionary practices, or unintended outcomes. We also believe that people who use AI systems should be honest and forthcoming about when, why, and how they choose to deploy them. The people who design and deploy AI systems must be accountable for how their systems operate. Organizations should draw upon industry standards to help develop accountability norms. These norms can ensure that AI systems aren't the final authority on any decision that impacts people's lives, and that humans maintain meaningful control over otherwise highly autonomous AI systems. These 6 principles provide a general idea of what we should do when planning to use AI. However, these principles also need to be reflected on a more practical level. When planning an AI solution, make sure these principles can be ensured with an AI governance system. Make sure that you review the link on responsible AI principles provided for more details with real-world examples that will help you to succeed on this exam. Remember, I have a website with all of those links for the entire exam preparation on the introductory module, so make sure you go back to that first module if you missed it. Azure AI services include a wide range of AI capabilities that can be used in AI applications. To use any of the AI services, one must create appropriate resources in an Azure subscription to define an endpoint where the service can be consumed. You have to provide access keys for authenticated access and to manage billing for your application's usage of the service. You can access Azure AI services through 2 different resource links. Azure AI Services Multi-Service Resource, where you can access multiple AI services with a single set of credentials. You also have single service resources such as Face and Vision, where you can access a single Azure AI service with a unique set of credentials for each service created. And most Azure AI services offer a free tier so you can try it out. Whenever possible, try to use the Azure AI service to access multiple Azure AI services with a single set of credentials. For services not available via the multi-service resource such as Face and Custom Vision, you can create a single service resource. When an Azure AI Services service resource is provisioned in an Azure subscription, you are defining an endpoint through which the service can be consumed by an application. Applications require 3 pieces of information to consume those Azure AI services. They are 1, the endpoint URI. This is the HTTP address at which the REST interfaces for the service can be accessed. Most AI services software development kits use the endpoint URI to initiate a connection to the endpoint. You also need a subscription key and also the resource location. DevOps has become the de facto development standard for cloud services. It places an emphasis on process automation and fosters a culture that encourages new ways of working together across teams. DevOps and AI development are 2 independent methodologies with a common goal: to put an AI application into production. DevOps for AI has the potential to stabilize and streamline the model release process. For project success, ensure that AI is represented on feature teams and is included throughout the design, development, and operational sessions. There are container images for Azure AI services in the Microsoft Container Registry that you can use to deploy a containerized service that encapsulates an individual Azure AI Service API. To deploy and use an Azure AI Services container, the following 3 activities must occur. First, download the container image for the specific Azure AI Service API and deploy it to a container host, such as a local Docker server an Azure Container Instance, or an Azure Kubernetes service. 2. Client applications submit data to an endpoint provided by the containerized service and retrieve results. And 3. Periodically usage metrics for the containerized service are sent to an Azure AI Services resource in Azure in order to calculate billing for the service. Diagnostics logging enables you to capture rich operational data for an Azure AI Service resource, which can be used to analyze service usage and troubleshoot problems. To capture diagnostics logs for an Azure AI service, create a destination for the log data. Event hubs can be used as a destination in order to then forward the data on a custom telemetry solution, and you can connect directly to some third-party solutions, but in most cases, or both, are the following kinds of Azure resources that you would look at in an Azure subscription: Azure Log Analytics or Azure Storage. Ideally, create these resources before configuring diagnostic logging for your AI service. In order to achieve log data to Azure Storage, create the Azure Storage account in the same region as the AI Services resource. When you add diagnostic settings, you must specify the categories of the log event data to capture and the details of the destinations to store the log data. As shown in the picture, the diagnostic settings store all available log data and metrics in Azure Log Analytics and Azure Storage. You might want to pause and take a look at these settings. Alerts help to detect and address issues before users notice them by proactively notifying when Azure Monitor data indicates there might be a problem with your infrastructure or application. The Azure Monitor data platform can alert on any metric or log data source. This is a good point to pause the video again to review how the alerts work with Azure Monitor. Also, review the Azure Docs article titled Overview of Azure Monitor Alerts for an even deeper understanding of this topic. One of the main benefits of using cloud services is that you can gain cost efficiency by only paying for services as you use them. Some Azure AI Service resources offer a free tier with restrictions on use, which is useful for development testing. The specific billing rate depends on the resource type. To view costs for Azure AI Services, sign into the Azure portal and select your subscription. You can then view overall costs for the subscription by selecting the Cost Analysis tab. To view only costs for Azure AI Services, add a filter that restricts the data to reflect the resources with a service name of Cognitive Services. As shown in this picture, you can also use the Azure Pricing Calculator to estimate costs based on the service you plan to use. By default, access to Azure AI Services resources is restricted by using subscription keys. Each Azure AI Service resource has 2 API keys to enable secret revocation, just like a storage account. This is a security precaution that lets you regularly change the keys that can access your service, protect the privacy of a service if a key gets leaked. You should regenerate keys regularly to protect against the risk of keys being shared with or accessed by unauthorized users. You can regenerate keys using the Azure portal or using the command you saw wave at the bottom, AZ Cognitive Services Account Keys Regenerate. To protect the account keys, you can also use Azure Key Vault. Take a look at this graphic to understand how this works. You can store the subscription key for an Azure AI Services resource in Azure Key Vault and assign it a managed identity to client applications that need to use the service. The applications can then retrieve the key as needed from the Key Vault without risk of exposing it to unauthorized users. There are quite a few ways to manage authentication, as you can see from this outline on Authenticate Request to Azure AI Services docs page. If you're not familiar with any or all of these methods, make sure you review that page, which will explain each one in depth. By default, Azure AI Services are accessible from all networks. Some individual AI Services resources, such as Azure AI Face Service and Azure AI Vision, and some others, can be configured to restrict access to specific network addresses, either public internet addresses or addresses on virtual networks. Azure AI Services provides a layered security model. This model enables you to secure your Azure AI Services accounts to a specific subnet of networks. When network rules are configured, only applications that request data over the specified set of networks can access that account. You can limit your access to resources with request filtering, which allows the requests that originate only from specified IP addresses, IP ranges, or from a list of subnets in an Azure virtual network. You can also use private endpoints for your Azure AI Services to allow clients on a virtual network to securely access data over Azure Private Link. The private endpoint uses an IP address from the virtual network address space for your Azure AI Services resource. Network traffic between the clients on the virtual network and the resource traverses the virtual network and a private link on the Azure Backbone network, which eliminates exposure from the public internet. Here's another good spot to pause the video and look at the options in the portal. Note that clients on a virtual network that use the private endpoint use the same connection string for the Azure AI Services resource as clients connecting to the public endpoint. The exception is the speech service, which requires a separate endpoint. One last tip, by default, Azure creates a private DNS zone attached to the virtual network with the necessary updates for the private endpoints. If you use your own DNS server, you might need to make more changes to your DNS configuration. This concludes Module 1, Plan and Manage an Azure AI Solution. Just wanted to highlight here too on this overview screen, which will show at every module, you see the percentage breakdown. Most are 10 to 20%. When we get to the natural language processing, I have that in red because that's a big whopper. I may have to break that into 3 separate videos. But that's it. Hope it helps. Please like and subscribe, and more videos to come.